I've already probably bought more than what I've made. I bought handmade cookies, sourdough bread, dulce de leche alfajores, and brownies that I'm very excited to dig into today. So we'll see. We're about halfway through. A few more hours left, and I'll check in with you soon. We're here. I have my helper.
Hello.
Organizing the table. I should give you a quick look around. This is my view. The guy directly across from me makes his own cookies from walnuts. We have bracelets, limoncello, cat rescue. Very good dulce de leche. Okay, so it is a few days after the market. I will shout out Jen's Crafty Creations on Etsy. I came across this by accident, but they have a market planner and there's a lot of information. You have inventory tracker as far as like what your best sellers were, week of an event to-do list, event reviews, and you can even make like little booth layout. Only use this for this last market here, so I haven't done anything like that. I managed to just do the inventory right before the market started. I'll insert a picture of all the products that I talk about that sold. 4 mini rubber ducks. I believe the one that sold was a pink one. I used Kelly from Poggy's Place rubber duck pattern. Them for $6. I didn't want to charge $5, but I also didn't think people would pay it if I charged $8. So I thought 6 was a little bit above, and that seems to be the sweet spot for the lowest tier plushies that I sell. And the next item I had were mini dogs, and those are also using Kelly from Poggy's Place, her mini Critterlings dog pattern. So 2 of those for $6. $12. I sold a mini giraffe, also a Critterling pattern. I believe it's of the Wildlings pattern pack, 1 for $6. Then I had my setup here. I'll insert the clip again. I had the Corgi plush from Crochet Grove, and it had taken me a little bit, but it wasn't a giant plushie where I could, in my area, I don't know if people would pay at a farmer's market more than like $65 for. At some of the bigger fairs I've been in, and in Boston specifically, sure. Smaller towns, areas, like random weekday events, you're lucky if people that go to the market are planning on spending any money, let alone such a large amount, in my opinion. $50, and I also put a little bandana around their neck because I was trying to advertise my pet bandanas that I made, and I designed to be for different sizes. So I put the bandana around the neck. The bandana itself was like $10, and it was just essentially a model. But anyways, where my booth was situated, right near the community like sitting area. So they had little tables with chairs around that if you got gelato at one of the places or you got produce, you could take a second and sit, whether with your family or by yourself. And so that was directly beside us, and there was this older woman who was having her gelato, and I overheard because I was interested in what flavor she was getting. Anyways, every now and then I could see her looking at our table, and eventually she comes over and she goes, "How much is this Corgi?" $50. And she goes, "Well, it says 10. Left the price tag on the bandana." And so I explained that. I wanted to say that she was going to be having a grandbaby this upcoming Friday. So I'm very excited. It's Friday right now, so I'm excited. Her kids have a Corgi of their own, and it resembled the plush. And so I said, I will include the bandana for free, because she asked if I had like a little bow tie or something to put around the dog's neck. I said, it's no problem. If you're interested in the Corgi, I'll give it to you for free. Just pick out what color. And I told her which sizes I think would pair well, and I tied it around. So I sold that for $50. And I couldn't believe that. She just kind of swooped in as soon as she finished her gelato. And she was like, do you have any smaller corgis? And I said, no, unfortunately, because the smaller dogs that I have, like the Critterlings or whatever, the ones that resembled corgis and that were smaller had already sold. So she fell in love with the corgi and she got it, and I was very excited because I worked hard on it, and it came out a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Very excited about that. So that was probably one of the biggest purchases of the day. Made 6 mini turtles from Old Soul Factory. Heist the sea turtle. It's the little one. $10 a piece, and I sold 5 out of the 6, so that's $50 right there. The turtles, which I was surprised by because I was batch making them usually the night before market, and then sometimes I'll get like this inspiration right before the night of a market, and my sister's like, girl, you need to calm down because you need to get your sleep. Don't be worrying about making products. But, and if this has ever happened to you, let me know. Things for a market, it's usually the stuff that I make the day before, or specifically the night before a market, that will sell almost out completely, if not they do. Anyways, I made 6 turtles with embroidered eyes, and I figured most people wouldn't be interested in the embroidered eyes as much because they're not like the plastic eyes, which I try to have a mix of the two. And I know a lot of families have their younger children, and obviously you're not supposed to give a child under 3 years old an item with safety eyes, which, reverting back to the corgi, my safety eye jig from Crojo Mojo Susan, to put them in place, and I made sure to secure them. But that being said, it was just going to be like sitting in their room. They're obviously not going to have a newborn playing with a giant, like a 1.5-pound plushie, like 15 inches long. That was okay. I felt comfortable making that sale, but again, to each their own. Keep that in mind, and I did make sure to tell my customers that information. So if you don't have it on a sign, make sure to say that as well. I made 4 unicorns from Snuggle Beans Crochet, Uma the mini unicorn. Used the Bernat ethereal stripes in the whatever the pastel rainbow one was, and I sold those for $22. Notice if you have like a set number, a lot of people will either say it's too high or it's too low. So you gotta try to like find a middle ground and like pick like a random number almost. Then had a rabbit snuggler, the Snuggle Beans crochet pattern as well. I sold that for $35. A giraffe snuggler, I believe from, Loops to Lovies, for their Gianna the giraffe. I did embroidered eyes. I didn't even see this kid approach my table. I had my table set up. I had 2 racks that collapse, and then my table in the center. The giraffe was positioned on the outside of the rack facing outwards, but I tucked it in, so you would have to kind of come in my booth in order to grab the giraffe. He approached the table with the giraffe in his hands. I'm like, whoa, hi, nice to meet you. And I was looking in that direction. I didn't see him nor him grab the giraffe, but needless to say, he was very excited about it. And it was so cute because after his mom got it for him, he was showing it off to all the other the vendor tents or the little kids walking around. He was like, look, and he's holding it. It was so cute. So I sold that for $18. Also got from a woman who had been at one of the other markets I was vending at. Purchased a few items from me prior, and she was looking through the book that I had that talked about different custom orders I've taken, the variety of products that I've made in the past, and how they look from adult clothing to kids clothing to fabric lined blankets, so on and so forth. Looking, and she wanted to commission me to make a specialized octopus plushie for her niece that's going to be born, I believe, in 2 weeks. And she wants her name inscribed on the plush. So I sold that as well. Because of the plush that she asked for, I said I would do it for $30. Also, where she was a repeat customer of mine. Thank you very much, Jill. I hope you are all happy with the products. I had so much fun, And it was weird because the photos and videos really show how the air quality was, because we're currently experiencing air repercussions from the wildfires that are happening in Canada currently. Everything looked like golden. Yeah, setup was a little bit strenuous. A breakdown was probably worse because the way that you're set up around the field, like near the church, there are very limited parking spots. So of course we were positioned on one end, and the parking spot that was open was on the other end. So we had to drag everything back and forth, back and forth. Honestly, I feel like I'm getting some muscle tone carrying the 80-pound weight bags all at the same time. And I took cash, card, Apple Pay, I recorded it all on my square. Total gross sales, I made $229. Fees taken out, I had $6.58, not including gas, which I guess if you would say that I combined it with the other market, would probably $10 for gas. And then table fee was $35. Total amount, including any fees or anything like that, $177.42, which isn't bad for a market that wasn't terribly busy. A Wednesday, also with the air quality, a lot of people didn't want to go outside, so I'm very grateful. And I'm excited about the upcoming markets, both there as well as some of the other ones that I have planned for this summer. If you enjoyed watching this video, definitely be sure to subscribe. I would love to share more of my market videos, and I'll try my best to record more as I'm going throughout the day, because I know that it can be hard to just take out your camera and film. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon. Bye.